Have you heard about the Watkins girl? You mean Sarah Jane?
Yes, only she doesn't go by that. She calls herself Jenny or Penny or some other cool.
Jenny. I believe that's what she calls herself.
Jenny, yes, that's it.
Well, what about her?
Oh, well, I heard she's been involving herself with Fred.
What do you mean, involving herself?
Well, I heard she gave him a little something when he went off to war with the other recruits last month.
You mean?
Yes, something special.
Are you telling me that Jenny Wilds gave you a Bible?
Yes, a copy of the Bible. Indeed, she did.
Oh my goodness.
Well, whenever you thought that the amount of 10 times worse, because it most certainly was, at least from what I heard. The girl actually thrown herself at it, slid a copy of the New Testament right into his hot hands. But, if you were talking about that day when everybody gathered at the Regiment Town Center to see the boys off on their way to Camp Dutton, why, everyone, all the girls were giving it away. I mean, they had baskets full of copies. That may very well be, but Ginny Rodham, Jenny, Penny, whatever her name is, she's a vast piece of baggage, that one. And you can mark my words that her father, the mighty John Marshall, is not going to condone any such relationship. Why, Rodhams have been prosperous farmers for generations. Frank Lucas and Stanley aren't exactly paupers. And I believe they have a few teachers in the family, too. Yes, but they aren't civic-minded like the Rodhams. Can you think of a single office in the town of Goshen that the mighty John Mars Rodhams haven't held in one way or another? Trustee, selectman, chairman of the board. He's always seeking power and influence. That's not a fact. That's why he will never allow a union between his family and the Lucas. Why, did you know he's even sending her to school to become a teacher so that she doesn't have to marry the first chowderhead who comes along? And that Fred Lucas indulging her, he's getting too high for his nuts.
My. I had no idea that Jenny Wilds must think she's some pumpkin, that's for sure.
But Polly, aren't they related?
I believe they are.
I was wondering when you were going to get around to that recollection. They most surely are.
How so?
Well, now let's see. John Marsh Rodham's first cousin Jonathan, well, he married Fred's father's sister. That would mean second cousins once removed, or something like that.
Oh, the shame of it all.
Well, at least there is war on, and now it can stop to their shenanigans. Fred Lucas must be a million miles away by now. Oh, don't you count on it, lady. What do you mean? Oh, what I mean is that the Post Office Department has fostered some of the most unseemly exchanges imaginable. The lascivious things exchanged between a boy and a girl using nothing more than a piece of paper and a pen, defy the laws of God in which ways that neither of us, being women of virtue, could possibly fathom. It's Sodom and Gomorrah with a stick. Speaking of the laws of God, we have best go into church. The service is about to start soon. I don't want to miss a minute of the Reverend Walton's sermon. I believe today he's speaking on Proverbs 11:9. An hypocrite with his mouth destroys his neighbor. I think of few people in this town who stand now, but there's Avery Kellogg, not to mention Dr. Thompson. Talk about a gossiping tongue.
In case you're wondering where you are, no worries. I'm here to help. Welcome to Goshen, Connecticut. It's October 1863. But honestly, we could be anywhere, anytime. What you just saw is proof. Human nature never changes. That Bible verse they were referencing, it was written about 700 BCE. Apparently they had hypocrisy and gossip way back then too. Speaking of hypocrisy and gossip, Goshen is a small town. How small is it? It's so small, the village school and the first selectman are the same person. You want another one? Sorry, the town is so small, it's only got one Jill. But, be that as it may, to acquaint you with the history of the moment. In April of 1861, just about 2.5 years ago, the American Civil War began. Southern troops fired on Fort Sumter in South Carolina. 3 days later, President Abraham Lincoln called for state militias to suppress the Southern rebels. What we know now, and they didn't know then, is that the war that followed would be the bloodiest in American history. Over 600,000 people died. That's more U.S. casualties than World War I and World War II combined. As I said, human nature never changes. But, besides hypocrisy, gossip, violence, and hate, there is another human characteristic which has endured since the beginning of time. Love. You are all about to become witnesses to a rare historical truth. A story from the past told not in the voices of historians and archaeologists, but in the words of real people themselves. No fragments have to be put together, no conjectures made about the facts. The words were all on paper in the form of letters found right here in Goshen. They will only have to be lightly edited and arranged to keep the story. Some of these letters were discovered in the attic of a family home and was put up for sale, and the remainder were found in another home owned by the same family. These letters were originally exchanged between a young man and a young woman who were victims of their time and place, as are we all. The young man, Fred Lucas, was going off to war. Jenny Wadhams was a distant cousin who joined many others in saying goodbye to Fred and his fellow Goshen recruits as they headed off to Camp Dutton in Litchfield. Standing with a group of girls, giving out copies of the Bible to the soldiers, Jenny saw that Fred had not received one, and so she presented him a copy. This was an act of kindness. It was a gesture of faith. And it was a gift that would set into motion events that would change both of their lives forever.
Friend Fred, I received your letter yesterday afternoon. I am rejoiced to hear that you and all the other gentlemen of the 19th Regiment are well. The other day, Father took down a couple of letters to go to the post office and saw that one was directed to you. He looked at it, and he said he thought I'd better be getting off to New Britain for teacher training. I don't intend to say anything more about the matter, for my fate is fully decided, and I am now disposed to make the best of it. But Father is making much about my having a grand education. As for me, I don't aspire to my position, but I always hope to leave a record on the teacher's books that shall not discredit me. Goodbye, Jenny.
My dear, Jenny, I am the pleased recipient of a kind letter from you dated the 6th, and one postmarked the 17th, which just arrived today. Thank you for allowing me to read the composition you've written for school. I should very much like to be favored, but still more. Meanwhile, everyone is saying Uncle A will surely be re-elected. I believe we will get weather the storm and come out with flying colors. Victorious and triumphant.
Well said. And triumphant we shall be.
I didn't know you were there, Tom.
Let's hope the enemy is equally unobservant. I see you're ready for that go back to Goshen. I hope you won't need me for saying, but I envy you for having a sweetheart.
Well, to find yourself a girl, then you would have someone to write to.
Well, I lack your constancy, right? See, I like to have my pick. But I will offer either way.
My mate, Thomas Huxley, sends regards. Goodbye, Fred. Goodbye, Fred.
That's the best you can do. Oh, for God's sake, man, tell her something that will send her pulse racing. Something about soft kisses under the moonlight, Where did you think you stood your silky hair?
You're studying to be a school teacher. Oh. Not like that wildcat you were sparking back in Goshen.
Didn't get to enjoy her kisses very long. Father could have stopped you with
This one's got a father, too. I don't think he likes me on account I'm not an educated man. He's hoping for a real gentleman for her.
You are a real gentleman. Good eye for bread. No one could accuse you of being a cat.
It's not that.
You know what I mean, girl. Father can go scratch. You're as good a man as any. Probably better. You're a heap more sensible than I am. Where did I put my shade brush?
I swear, Tommy, the only man I've ever met who shaves twice a day.
Well, I have to keep myself looking sharp. I never know who I might meet. There it is. Well, I will see you at supper. God only knows what they're feeding us tonight.
See you around.
Thank you. I have just returned from classes. I grow more and more attached to the idea of being a teacher every day. I think I should like teaching very much, and I will teach next winter if Father is willing. But I am sure he will wish me to return to school. He thinks this is about the best school that ever was. He's very anxious for me to graduate. I think this is a good place to get a good, solid education. I shall be sick to death going to school for 2 more years. I will be going home on the 22nd to help Mother in time for hay. There is considerable cooking to be done by the farmers women. All the Goshen people are well. But that awful Mr. Hager had 4 cows killed by lightning last Friday evening. It's a terrible loss for anyone. But if it had to happen, I suppose Mr. Hager might as well be the one. I hope the war will be over so that we can come home next summer. Please give my respects to Thomas Huxley. Goodbye, from Jane.
Friend Jen. Thoughts of home, friends left behind, probably self Thomas. We are comforted by the assurance that you still remember us. Papers are dull, news is scarce and uninteresting. I hope the President's call for 300,000 men will be met with hearty response from those accomplished. If so, the war will soon close. My dinner today was a roasted possum. I should like to see you, Jenny. Our correspondence has made me feel well acquainted with you. Do you feel the same, Jenny? If not, tell me something in your next, please. Write as soon as convenient, and don't put the question on this page. From your true friend, Fred.
Dear Fred, I went into the woods Tuesday morning and gathered a very handsome bouquet. I went to see about having my photograph taken today, but it could not be done until next week. So I will send the picture in my next letter. Miss Betsy Campbell is my roommate, and she has been quite anxious to find out what your name is, but I won't tell her. She wishes me to say if you could only see her picture, you would never wish to write to me again. To answer your question, a letter from Cousin Fred is very welcome, anytime. Our correspondence has been a source of much pleasure. I hope you will get a furlough home this summer. If so, I shall expect to call for you. Will you come to see me? Good night, Jenny.
My dear friend Jim, I think the correspondence between us will not be affected by this Betsy. I not only think to write you, dear cousin, or Thomas Huxley calls you my particular friend Jenny. I was on a postcard yesterday and not allowed to sleep all night. Sometimes we have a little shade or a little shelter from the rain pouring down in torrents. That come up little jewels, Virginia mosquitoes, which cause us to bleed for our country. But I wish you could be here when we're practicing the targets. I like to fire the heavy guns, and I like the study of artillery. My experience during the past year has been a school of great value. Goshen people don't take as much interest as they ought in the boys who face danger in this war. Many here feel that those who urged them in entering the service are now putting a cold shoulder to it. It is a soldier's privilege to grumble. Sometimes found myself on the verge of giving up hope. But in those dark times, we should always look upward to God, and by prayer and meditation, bring back light. I am been sleeping, when my head aches. I must lay by the scrawled letter to take a nap. Goodbye from your friend, Fred A.
Dear friend, I enclose my photograph. I think it would be much better had I not looked so cross. I was much pleased to receive your letter yesterday. I think you write first-rate letters, and I like you for one thing, Fred. You don't try to write Spanish. When you have anything to say, you tell it plainly. I always like to write just as I would talk with the person who here. I hope that when you are thinking of home, that you think of Jenny Waters among your list of friends. I must bid you goodbye, for it is time for tea. Jenny.
My dear friend Jenny, I have looked for a letter for many days, and now acknowledge receipt of two. 4 in the morning, I am on guard, poor pen, the light of an oil lamp. I write with discordant notes of various kinds of ringing in my ears. The music of 20 sleeping soldiers and scores of howling dogs outside the fort. It is a warm, pleasant night. It's so still that I can hear the sentinels. They pace back and forth with their posts. My chum Tom Huxley lies sound asleep on the bunk near me, doubtless dreaming of the fall away. Good night, from Fred.
Dear friend Fred, I am glad you like my picture. I wish I had looked a little more pleasant. I think the photograph you sent me is a very good one. I also appreciate your kind invitation, and I should be much pleased to dine with your beings if I could have found it convenient to visit you again. But I think I should have to be pretty hungry to eat turtle soup and fried frogs. You say you sleep around a lot of soldiers. Last night I retired early, and the girls dressed up an umbrella in my clothes and leaned it on the stove fire, after which they woke me. I was mad at them, but soon dropped back to sleep. They had lots of fun, but Carrie Williams is afraid that I would pick her up in some way. Oh dear, I must get to my classes at arithmetic. Goodbye, Jenny.
My dear friend Jenny, the Goshen boys are all well. The general health of the residents is fine. But Lieutenant Gaylord died today at 1 o'clock. He had been sick a long time. He came from Norfolk. His sister had been there for some weeks to care for him. Thanksgiving is close at hand. I can well imagine how the folks at home are going to celebrate. They always have a great time. I wrote Mother to save me a piece of turkey, a slice of plum pudding, some pie and applesauce. I wish I could be there to eat with. Last night I slept on the bare board, flat for my pillow. Do you suppose such a bed would make me patriotic? I feel refreshed, but not more patriotic than usual. Please write me as soon as you can. Goodbye from your friend, Fred.
Dear friend Fred, I judge from your letters that you are almost always cheerful and happy. I do not get you across, except for once in a great while. And Mother says I am terrible to come around when I am cross. I hope you are getting along nicely. I have been having some new pictures taken, and these are better than the previous one. I enclose two. You can choose whichever you like best, and destroy the others. Miss Betsy, my roommate, sends kind regards and says to tell you that she is as pretty as ever. I am afraid that it would be smitten if you saw her, and I would receive 2 letters after that. Goodbye, from Cousin Jane. Write soon.
My dear Jenny, when I'm not engaged in necessary duties, I'm always thinking of far off Connecticut, the hills of Oak Ocean. While visiting in Washington, I noticed very many of the ladies wear army hats. These have become quite fashionable. Tonight, I went with my friends to Grover's Theater to see a play. It was a very pleasant evening. I wish you could have been with me, Jen. Goshen boys and Tom Huxley are well. Goodbye. Fred.
Oh, glory. I am going to Goshen this afternoon. I have been terribly homesick for 2 weeks. Don't you wish you could go too? I am glad you like the new photos I sent you. I think they are better than the first one, don't you? Although it seems impossible for me to have a picture taken that looks pleasant. You asked my opinion about dancing. I see no harm in having a good time dancing when friends are gathered together. But on Sunday at church in Goshen, that old Mrs. Polly Brooks said she did not believe me to be a Christian at all if I tolerated dancing. I thought it was hardly right for her to tell me I was not a Christian, simply because I differed from her on a point of belief. My regards to Tom Huxley, your true friend, Sarah Jane Water.
Dear Jenny, imagine me seated on a pile of 24-pound shot, paper on my knee, pen in hand, endeavoring to put a few thoughts on record for letter you. 6 o'clock in the morning. This is the day appointed by the President for Thanksgiving and prayer for our many glorious victories of our country. Charleston and Mobile must soon fall into our hands, and then, Old General Lee is surely ours. Rebellion is going down. Your true friend, Fred Lewis.
Dear friend, I am busy writing this letter, while my friend Miss Curtis is busy drawing a picture of me, which I think will be a correct likeness when it is finished. I will send it to you. I hardly think it best for you to set so high a value on my photograph. The girls here are all waiting anxiously for mail to get a letter from a gentleman in the 16th Regiment. If you wanted something to do, young lady, and wrote a letter to the young man, signing themselves as Miss Annabelle Burgers. Mary says it is shameful that they acted so, and hopes the soldier will not fight back. I thank you very much for the magnolia that you sent in the letter. I shall keep it safely as a memento. But how hard it is to be a true Christian. I sometimes fear that I shall not prove a good servant of God. When do you think this war will be over? I am sure it cannot last much longer. Your friend, Jenny.
Dear Jenny, we are again under marching orders. Troops are rushing into Alexandria. The city is full. The Potomac is alive with vessels transporting regiments and their supplies. Meanwhile, substitutes, alias $300 apologists for a soldier, are coming on rapid. A burning shame upon our nation, which is the result of the Conscription Act. But where is loyalty, patriotism, and love of country? When I enlisted, Jenny, I volunteered. And now the government has drafted them? And even if drafted, they won't come because they now have the means to be exempted by hiring someone to go for them. I find no fault with the men who come as substitutes, but with those who hire them to represent them in this cause. The Colonel wants to see me, so I must bid a short goodbye. Your friend, Fred.
My dear friend Fred, please excuse my delay in writing. I have been busy with clothes washing and find myself tired. Fred, patriotism seems to have died out almost in the North. Because we have been successful in a few instances, I think we should be all the more zealous. But a gentleman told me that I was a croaking school teacher, and that things would look different to me if I were a man. Perhaps I should enlist. John Hart and Mary Lyman were in Goshen last week and were affectionate in church. see that the church is rapidly running down. There's very little interest in religious things. Were you acquainted with Delia Worcester? I hear she is quite sick with typhus fever. I miss the soldiers. What lots of stories you will tell when you get home again. Good night, from Jenny Williams.
Jenny, are you still late, Dudley?
Oh, no, I'm writing a letter.
You should spoke on that much already. You already know today.
No, it's to Fred Lewis. Oh, you remember him? He's gone to fight.
I don't like to see you wasting your time. There are plenty of other girls who write in the zone.
But I don't mind it a bit.
Frankly, I do. Other young ladies were chatting about finding a husband. They will spend the evening writing to some man who may or may not come back in one piece.
Well, I'm keeping up with my studies.
That's not my point. I want you to make something of yourself. And someday, you can choose a husband worthy of you. A soldier is not that man.
But Father, you don't even know Fred. And he's very brave.
I'm sure he is.
Oh, don't you believe in patriotism, Father? I thought you did.
Patriotism hasn't a thing to do with it. I can still respect a man while thinking, I don't want him writing my daughter.
Oh, but Mother wasn't accomplished. And yet you married her.
Those were different times. The world is changing quickly. Jenny, I feel so nice towards you about commitment to civic duty and careful saving. And when I pass things out to you, I want you to understand how to take care of yourself without being beholden to others telling you what to do. Whether you're a husband or a lawyer or banker, I see a future for you, Jenny.
I know you want to do what's best for me.
I certainly do. And no matter how brave a fellow is on the other end of that pen, he's not the man for you.
Yes, Father.
Good night.
Good night.
My dear President, the Confederacy is surely on the decline. Meanwhile, surrounded by temptations which never dare assail its home, it seems the landmarks between right and wrong were trampled out. We need your prayers. We had a pleasant visit yesterday. Henry Wedding's sister Louise and two young ladies from Washington were discovered. Visits from mothers and sisters are most agreeable to us. However, great numbers of the women, young and old, choose self-power, and many middle-aged women smoke tobacco, whipping away on their large pipes. Think of a go-to girl chewing tobacco or smoking a pipe. My pen is bound to see the end of this page, so goodbye. From your ever affectionate friend.
Ever affectionate friend, finally, we're getting something.
Hell, stop! I wish you would announce yourself before you storm the other fellow.
You know, we'll get Josh in with you. There is very little to make merry about these things.
How's that for Joseph?
Yeah. And before you ask, Bud White got here just an hour ago.
Did they try amputating his arm?
Yes, they did. But he died on the table, 2 weeks from his injuries.
Swear, sometimes I think it was cursed with girls.
Bud White owed me money at cards. Think I'll let him keep it, it's the least I can do.
You ought to be disrespect.
It's not disrespect, Fred. It's something to keep my head about me. What else are we supposed to do after turning death in the face day after day? Yesterday's battle, tomorrow's battle. If we break our hearts for every man we lose, there'll be nothing left of us by the time we get home.
Sorry.
Let me tell you something, Fred Lucas. I was never one for funerals, but I mean, anything to make one for someone's passing like we used to do before the war. I think it's better than being sent off to the grave without so much of a fairly well.
Some of them don't even have enough left to put in the grave.
I know.
Dear friend Fred. I am very glad that you are well. I suppose that explosion was a terrible affair. I think it must have been terrible to see your friends so awfully mangled. I never want to see any friends of mine after they are dead. I would rather remember my friends as I saw them when they were perfectly well. There is one young lady, boarding at the same place I do, who is very much troubled because I won't dress a little more stylish. I wear gingham and calico dresses to school, and she says I ought to wear my silk dresses some of the time. I never wanted said that I got high notions of boarding school, rigging up in silk to go to classes. We'll see which comes out best in the end. This proud miss or Sarah Jane Watkins. When you wrote the last letter, you said you were very tired. Now, Fred, although I am always glad to hear from you, I don't want you to write when you feel you are unable. Good night. From your friend, Jenny.
Dear Jenny, that little testament you gave me 1 year ago is still in my pocket. I read it daily, never without taking it. I mean to carry this little book through the war if possible. Jenny, I always write you very plainly and with perfect freedom, and I hope you'll do the same when writing me. Will you take a ride with me someday if I have to call for you? I have told you some policies. Perhaps you will not care to plant them, as it takes 5 years for the plant to mature and bear blossoms. But it is a beautiful thing, flowers, blue and white. With respect to all your inquiring friends, and the hope of hearing from you soon. Goodbye, good friend.
My dear friend, Professor Ripley came yesterday very much excited to tell us that Vicksburg fell on the 4th of July. What good war news we have had lately. I think General Lee is badly whipped in Pennsylvania. I received a note from Henry Norton saying he wants to call on me Saturday. I told him it was against the school's rules to have visitors. Was that wrong of me to do so? Thank you very much for the seeds you sent. I shall certainly thank them. I can wait 5 years for blossoms well enough. I will bid you good night. From Cousin Jane.
Dear Jenny, it's 3 days since I received your last letter, but I've been busy on duty, no time to write. As for your questions about what transpired, under the circumstances, I really cannot say. What if we were the cause of breaking his heart, blasting his hopes, and he becomes a confirmed old bachelor? If his persuasions to you were not agreeable, perfectly justified, of course you go. Meanwhile, the letters which I received from you are becoming indispensable. Mine still agreeable to you, I wonder? Even more correspondence right more entertaining than I. It was a breezy, cool night. It reminds me of Goshen in August. It was seen 1 year ago at Camp Duck. Childhood days in soldiering, Colonel Kellogg calls them. So they were. How many times Tom Huxley and I had laughed when thinking over our first drills? I close with goodbye from Fred.
My kind friend, Fred. I don't know whether to think you have forgotten me entirely or not. It has been nearly 6 weeks since I received a letter from you. But never mind. You said that you were under marching orders. I hope you will not leave your line, Fred. When I was reading your last letter and realized that you were having to take care of yourselves, the thought struck me that I would like to see men wash dishes. You must be terrible awkward. Goodbye, Jenny.
My dear Jenny, so we're to visit Goshen on the 23rd. say with any certainty. You see, I have made written applications for a furlough, but it must be delayed a while, as the surgeon in charge of whose eye it must come for approval is just now absent on important duties in the city. If I come home, I hope to enjoy a good visit with you. Directly opposite my window is situated the amputating room, and I can now look upon several surgeons busily engaged cutting off a man's limb. I have witnessed many bloody sights during the past 6 months, and often shudder to recall scenes which have passed. But this is another result of our vocation, unavoidable. Jen, I must close this. I have written a curious letter. Write to me as soon as convenient. Loving Fred. Good night, kids.
My dear Fred, your letter of the 12th came this morning. No one has been to the office this week, and for that reason I have not received your letter till now. My time is somewhat limited, but I cannot rest easy without writing a letter to you this morning. Fred, it will be a glorious day at Goshen when the 19th comes home. I hope you will get to see me graduate 2 years from now. I must not write longer, for if I go to church, Mother says it is time to get ready. Regards to Thomas Huxley. Goodbye, Jenny.
We were very kind to go out and storm your newspaper to send it. You ought not to do so. Not that I would not be very glad to see you, but I can wait for favorable weather much better than to have you in your rainstorm. I shall look with pleasure for your magazine, and thank you for your kindness in sending it. As for your review in school by your classmates, it must be quite a task for you to teach under the sharp criticism of all your fellows. But I think if anyone can do it, Jenny Lavin.
There was quite an excitement in Goshen today. Mr. Bentley sent Henry Collins to Sharon for a couple of colored men to enlist. Henry brought them to the cookhouse, but John Cook shut them upstairs and left them there until this morning, when he and his brother took them to Bridgeport to sell them there. Some of the Goshen people are very much enraged at them. Your father remarked in the store last night that anyone who would do that would likely steal gravestones if they had a chance. I think the colored people are just as good as white and should be treated with the same respect. I would just as soon teach a school of colored children as any other children. There is a colored gentleman in school that is considered one of our finest pupils, and he is by far the finest writer and the finest history scholar that we have. Father says he will get me a pretty silver watch for Christmas. This evening, he told me to draw up some deeds, and he said I should look over his papers and help him about settling up matters on the estate. I like to do such work.
Jenny, you will perform your father's public duties for her if you continue. Betty, you're not a lawyer. I am in hopes of furloughs to be granted this winter. None have yet. Unmarried men like me stand a poor chance for such favors. This evening, President Lincoln and his cabinet visited. I was delighted to see the honor shown. Long live President Lincoln.
I wish you a happy New Year, Fred. I'm home, but busy, studying philosophy and geography. Father says I had better keep up regular lessons to take up my spare time. It's very dull in Goshen this winter. No markets, no sleigh rides or anything. The gentlemen are all gone to war, and there is but little fun when the ladies get together. Taking the war news has been very scarce and uninteresting. Oh, you recall I told you last Monday that Ned Bradley was dead. When I returned to Goshen, Mother told me that Ned Bradley is not dead. In fact, he is a little better. The doctor telegraphed Mrs. Bradley last Friday Ned is no worse, and Fred, Ned is no more. I was in a from my friend Emma Curtis, and she said everyone starts with the itch at school. Look, I am glad I am not there. Pleasant dreams. Good night, Jenny.
Jenny, I must tell you of a big gun in his mouth in here. Tom Huxley and I and some others went to see it the other day. It's a monster. With a length about 17 feet, it weighs over 49,000 pounds and throws a solid shot 15 inches in diameter, weighing 180 pounds. Its carriers is a wrought iron. Placed on the south side of Alexandria, and guards the Potomac and the entrance were walking by water from the south. Several more are to be mounted there soon. What cannot skill of men do?
I should be very pleased if I could mend your gloves. You asked if I would decline doing such jobs if I were within reach. I'll own that I do not like mending very well, but that makes no difference. I do a great many things that I would rather not, that must be done by somebody. I have a conundrum for you to guess, if you can. What is the difference between a soldier and a young lady? One faces the powder, and the other powders the face. Hey, I wish you to exchange that testament I gave you for a better one. A lot of the girls that day were giving soldiers' testaments, and I bought a half dozen. I arrived late and gave them to those who had not received them from others. Remember me often in prayer. I am very sorry I cannot make this last week, but I would advise you to do it for yourself. From your affectionate cousin and friend, Jenny.
I came up to see if you were warm, Jenny. It's a cold evening. It was January in Goshen. Who's it you're writing?
Fred Lucas? He's in Maryland. It's a shame he couldn't come home for the holidays.
Never mind.
But Father, don't you think it's sad?
Jenny, I don't spend much time thinking about Mr. Lucas. And I wish you wouldn't either.
But he enjoys receiving my letters.
My dear girl, I intend for you to finish school. God has endowed you with talent and will hold me responsible if I'm not ready to influence.
I know you mean to do well, Matthew. And I try to do all that I can in school. You know that.
I do. I want you to be a wonderful woman, Jenny. And I hope you are using the opportunity given to you to become one.
Yes, Father. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Jenny, now that you're holding on to Goshen, things were nearer to in some way. Now, dear Jenny, please, tell me all the Goshen news and how you enjoy yourself at home. I'm anxious to get your next letter, as I always am. I wonder what it contains. Let me write more, so my heavy eyes and tired spirits can finish the last line. My heart has sent a kiss, and so good night. Okay.
My dear friend Fred, your letter came the day before yesterday and was gladly received. This is a beautiful morning, sunny and bright. I was up quite early this morning and have been washing dishes and baking pies. Don't you wish you could have a nice big piece of my pie just about now? I am so sorry that you can't come home. I have waited for your letter anxiously, hoping that you would write that we might expect to see you in a few weeks. Dan Dempsey carried me to a party at Mr. Norton's last evening. We came home at 12 o'clock. Fred, I don't mean to be contrary, but I fear that I am not ready enough to yield my own wishes to those of others. I am not joking at all when I say I am almost afraid of you. I am, in a certain sense, afraid of you. I don't mean that I fear you would betray my confidence or anything of that kind. I can hardly express my thoughts. But I believe
devotion correspondent, but I'm most surprised with you being a good friend of mine. I'm afraid I must put away my writings now and get ready to go to Litchfield with Father to put some money in the savings bank. From your sincere friend, Jenny.
What is it you're writing to your particular friend Jenny tonight?
I'm not a writer, Tom.
Reading, right? By the time you two get married, how long do you want to bet you left to say to each other?
Well, after all these months soldiering in company with men, I hope to find something better to do than talk.
How quickly you forget? Just the other day, two pretty ladies visited our camp.
Charlie told grandmother. Here's the nurse in his case of dysentery. They were even worse to look at than he was.
Oh, Francis, keep telling Jenny the war will be over and we'll be back home to Russia. That's what I keep telling my folks.
If it's still alive, one wishes it were true.
Ask me again if this nightmare's over.
Any word from that fellow in D.C.?
Yes, and damn you for reminding me. He said their clock is holding a second strike.
A second strike? Wasn't the first one bad enough?
Hey, pretty soon we'll have the most patriotic army money you can find.
What time dance pays a $300 commutation fee? Ohio's going to do this fight for
A rich man. And those folks, they said now half of them can't even speak English.
There's plenty of shame to go around. I never imagined I would see our enthusiasm flag so quickly. You remember the question of this is a gift.
Those days are long gone now. People want to simply go on with their life. People want to forget.
Yeah, well, I do too. Really difficult when I'm shivering with holes in my socks and I haven't had a decent meal in God knows how long.
Well, at least you have some sweet thoughts to keep you warm. Oh, by the way, tell Jenny I send my regards.
You are awfully diligent about doing that, I must admit.
Of course I am. By the time we get home, I hope to have earned her trust, so she won't object if I ask you to come out for a game of cards once in a while. You know how wives are. She's a smart one.
Well, she is smarter than you, that's a fact.
I know. That's why I have to use subterfuge.
Get going, you're going to be late for guard duty.
Tell her I send my very best. My very best. You hear me?
So many soldiers fighting in the north and the south, and where did they all come from? The southern states had to initiate a draft about a year into the war. While in the north, men could be exempted from service for legitimate reasons, they could also bribe a doctor to grant them a medical exception, pay $10,000 in today's money as a commutation fee, or hire someone to replace them. Sometimes these replacements were young men of 18. Sometimes they were immigrants. Many who couldn't speak English were tricked into service. But on the battlefield, soldiers discovered that whether native born or immigrant, black or white, their blood ran red. On the battlefield, soldiers discovered that whether northern or southern, their blood ran red. One night, legend says, the Union and Confederate armies were camped on either side of the river. The Confederate band played Dixie, the Union band played the Star Spangled Banner. And then a lone bugler played Home Sweet Home. On both sides of the river, men wept.
My dear friend, Faye, how I worry for you. Some of our brave soldier friends will be missing after the fight is over. Some wounded. I hope you will be shielded from all danger, wherever you may be, and be permitted to come home to dear old Goshen again. Faye, please believe that you are never forgotten. With many kind wishes and a good night kiss.
My dear Judge, I have been unable to write you until today. Mail comes only once in 3 days now, and leave is often. Jenny, I wonder where you are at this moment. Wonder if you're well. Were you here where I am right now, you would see a region of country miles covered in soldiers, tired out and now resting from severe marches. But here and there they meet together, others cooking, playing cards, smoking, talking, while many are writing hurried letters to loved ones at home. The Goshen boys very well. We are all very much fatigued. Life in the field is a hard one. Thoughts of home crowd themselves upon my mind, and I could wish that I was just here for a brief time. Then I still keep that little New Testament Bible and gave it back and kept up. And it often reminds me of the giver. It has been with me through all the marches and battles. Of the 850 who left campsite, 183 men remain. Good night. Friend.
Hi everybody, Matt Vallier here with the Connecticut State Battle Flag Collection here at the Connecticut State Capitol in Hartford. And today I'll be talking to you about the battle flags for the 19th Connecticut Volunteers, also known as the 2nd Connecticut Heavy Artillery, during the American Civil War. The 19th Connecticut Volunteers were originally raised in the summer of 1862, and they were raised as the 19th at Camp Dutton in Litchfield County. And most of its soldiers came from Litchfield County as well. The colors of the regiment, also known as a stand of colors being more than one flag. You would have a national flag and a state flag for every regiment. And the 19th Connecticut received these from Mr. William Curtis Noyes and his wife, Julie or Julia. Her maiden name was Talmadge, and being the 250th of our country, I think it's important to note her grandfather was Captain Benjamin Talmadge in the Continental Army during the Revolution. But back to the Civil War, though, the Noyes family purchased these colors for the 19th Connecticut because they wanted them to be carried as a symbol of home during the American Civil War for this regiment. They were made by Tiffany & Company in New York City. The national flag is about 6 foot by 6 foot, maybe a little bit less with the damage on the end of it. And it features white applique stars, which is different from other flags in the collection that are either painted or embroidered to their flag, or embroidered to their colors. And then the center red stripe reads in a really beautiful silk embroidered calligraphy, 19th Regiment Connecticut Volunteers. The state flag that you see here, the blue one, was also procured through Tiffany, and it's also about 6 foot by 6 foot, and at the top it reads in embroidery, 19th Regiment Connecticut Volunteers. Below that there's an eagle standing on a scroll, and then the central device features a shield that sports both the seal of the state of Connecticut and the federal shield in the same shield. So symbolism there is that we're working together as the government and the state to meet the oncoming rebellion. Underneath that is a scroll that reads the state motto, Qui Transit Sustenance, and then that would have been reversed on the other side. So that design element is on both sides of that flag. So the 19th Connecticut, they leave the state and they are in garrison duty in Washington, D.C. Through 1862 into 1863, when they are redesignated as the 2nd Connecticut Heavy Artillery. Now, normally a heavy artillery regiment would have similar flags as this, but the blue state flag would have been changed to a yellow heavy artillery flag, similar to what was given to the 1st Connecticut Heavy Artillery. But the 2nd Connecticut Heavy Artillery opted to keep their original battle flags from the 19th Connecticut, and these served through the American Civil War. in 1864, when Ulysses S. Grant takes command of Union forces and makes his headquarters with the Army of the Potomac in Virginia, he calls for heavy artillery regiments in Washington, D.C. to be pulled out of the defenses to act as infantry once more. So the 19th Connecticut go with all those men, and since they've been in garrison duty for the better part of 2 years, the veterans in the Army of the Potomac nicknamed them bandbox soldiers because they knew how to drill so well and they looked very clean and polished, kind of like bandbox soldiers or toy soldiers. But they will prove their worth well in the coming battles through 1864 and 65. The 2nd Connecticut Heavy Artillery's first principal action during the American Civil War was the Battle of Cold Harbor on June 1st, 1864, where they suffer considerable casualties. Somewhere about 323 men were killed or wounded in the assault on June 1st, including their colonel, Colonel Elijah Kellogg. A number of men among the color guard were most likely killed or wounded as well. They're being battle damaged even on these flags as they are on display here. If you look, the national flag here is missing its finial. It might be cropped out of my video here, but it is missing its finial because during that battle, it was shot away by Confederate rifle fire or artillery fire. The 2nd Connecticut Heavy Artillery continued to serve as infantry through the American Civil War, and they serve at battles through the Shenandoah Valley and Sheridan's Shenandoah Valley campaign, such as Opequon, Fisher's Hill, and Cedar Creek. They continue in operations at Petersburg, and they also see action at Sailors Creek and Appomattox through the American Civil War. After the American Civil War had ended, and the 2nd Connecticut had returned to the state, these flags were sent to the arsenal here in Hartford, which was originally on Main Street in the North End. And then 15 some years go by, and Battle Flag Day happens with the opening of our Capitol building here on Capitol Ave. And a big parade happens, one of the largest public events in Connecticut history, and the veterans of those regiments, of all the Connecticut regiments actually, bring their flags here in a big parade from the North End to the Capitol building and put them in these cases. So in this hall space, the veterans themselves actually place these flags. The 2nd Connecticut Heavy Artillery's flag stayed here until about 1960 when they were conserved by Colonel Thomas Welter, and they have been on display ever since. So that's a little bit about the 2nd Connecticut Heavy Artillery's flags. Please come to the Connecticut State Capitol and see the Hall of Flags. There are a number of very wonderful flags that are very important to our state's history. So come on down and see them. Thank you very much.
Well, I promised to finish school.
Your mother said all good.
Mother also says I am contrary and self-willed. And I suppose it's so.
Jenny, I don't want you to get yourself in trouble. I don't let this fascination you have with Fred's letter.
Well, I can show you that I'm not fascinated.
Jenna, you're not giving yourself that right. Anything you feel sorry for hereafter. If you write as your fancy dictates, and at some future time you write to someone you like better than Fred he could and would be quite likely to bring forward some of your old letters. And you are aware that in that way he could bother you very much if he chose to do so.
Father, I have great confidence in you, and I hope I'll never have reason to be sorry for it.
Well, for your sake, I certainly hope so too. I can see why you're into matters of this kind to advise you. Be careful, to keep clear.
I respect him very highly, and he is a true friend.
There, that remains to be seen.
I have delayed answering your letter till now, for a reason. I wonder if you will be provoked if I tell you that I read a portion of your letter to Father and talked with him. He advises me to be very cautious. He thinks I had better be careful. I could say many things where I was but I would rather not write. I do not want to come for anything yet, really a mess. I know a young lady who wrote to a soldier friend very affectionately, and then he died. The pastor went through his things and found the letters, which would have been all right, but he told his wife, and she told everyone. I have often thought of this. If I were to write as I am strongly tempted to, I might regret it very much at some time. These are my honest opinions. You may call me Dear Jenny, if you care enough about me. I hope you will understand my meaning from what I have heard.
Jenny, I've called you very, very often for the terrible hours of the last 3 days here in Cold Harbor, Virginia. Hear this reason to you, if it ever does. You will probably have heard the saddening news of the loss of our gallant regiment. Total killed, wounded, and missing up to last night amount to 321. We took probably 200 or 300 prisoners. Jenny, I have seen men fall by my side, shot and dead at once, while numbers of wounded lay helpless on the field, crying out for aid and a drop of water went to their lips. And no aid could be given, for all well men must fight. This is war without romance. The reality.
We had a great fire here on Tuesday night. The Baldwin house took fire from the chimney about midnight and burned down in a very little while. The house was occupied by a Mr. William Kelly, an Irishman, and Mr. David Young. The bodies were dug out yesterday morning, and the funeral was held in Goshen Catholic Church today. I never saw so large a procession of Irish in my life.
Glowing accounts of magnificent charges, heroic daring, and battlefields covered with dying foes fill the papers of the day and please the public taste for excitement. But to engage yourself in a hand-to-hand conflict and to witness yourself with groans, cries, curses, and prayers, and dying agony all in their struggle, is far from faith. This is our duty. We have fulfilled it nobly. I was terribly surprised at my own feelings and that of our boys during the battle. I saw very little fear or hesitation. Fighting still continues. Our regiment is lying in temporary rest. So we are allowed to be called into the charge again at any moment. Jenny, if you receive this, please write me immediately. If I fall in this campaign, it will be a noble cause.
Last Sunday, Addie Tuttle and myself sat on the back seat at Sabbath school. Dan Dempsey saw us sitting there, and so came and sat a little way off on the same seat. Then Mrs. Polly Brooks saw him, and of course came and said it was very improper. She came over and said to Dan and me, "If you are going to sit here, then I shall sit between you." And Dan said, "Well, I'll bet 6 pence you won't." And so then she went upstairs into the church to talk to my father about the matter. Father told her he had no control over Dan's actions and thought that I could take care of myself well enough. He also told her that if he were Dan, he would have been inclined to sit up a little nearer to the young lady if some older woman had tried to separate.
I am most happy to hear from you, and the lively, cheerful tone of your letters does me good at this time. kids that are posted to the Carolinas. They all claim to be Union men conscripted into rebel service. We did not print these stories at all. Those forced yesterday to make breakfast out of the contents of a dead rebel's haversack, corn cake and bacon. We have suffered much since we left Baltimore.
I received a very good letter from Mr. Oliver B. Pollard of Regiment, drumming me up for a photograph that I promised him last summer. However, in the letter, he also asked if my family were worth very much. I had rather liked him until then, but all the respect I had vanished when he inquired about money matters.
The guns are thundering on both sides now. It's growing dark. I found one of the prettiest canaries I had ever seen near Petersburg. It was in a cave in a deserted house in the starving camp. I fed it with some of my rations, gave it some water, and turned it loose to go where it would.
I am sure I spoke quite plainly in my last letter when I said our correspondence has been a source of much pleasure to me. I place a great deal of confidence in you. Whenever I am tired of writing, I shall certainly tell you, and I trust you will be as frank in telling me. Will you?
U.S. Grant with our expedition. Tom Huxley and I are anticipating lively times. Lee is reported to be moving a large force up this way. Grant is bringing a large one to meet him. Mother wrote to say that she has not heard from me for 2 weeks. My letters have been lost with me. I hope you will receive this.
My kind friend, Fred. Father sent me a nice bag of walnuts. My roommates and I are going to crack some this evening. Don't you wish you were here to help us eat them?
I've not received answer to my letter regarding your conduct in attending parties and social gatherings with other young gentlemen during my absence. Jenny, I have all confidence in you and can only reiterate what I have already written to you. Speak plain English, Jenny. If the girl who chooses to act falsely during my absence will likely prove unfaithful after my return. Is it not so? And I have suspicions, not in the least, that my Jenny will do either.
Fred, I wish I had as much faith as you have. I sometimes find myself distrusting God. I think the war will end in a few months more. Don't you? I must go. Mother is calling me.
I have been convalescing well here in the hospital in Baltimore. Although it took 6 days to get me here, the bullet didn't break the bone, and the surgeon did not have to take my leg. We have a colored girl waiting on us at mealtime. She's a very intelligent girl and well educated. She often gives me an extra cup of custard or a boiled egg every meal because I am independent. But I dislike the preference should be shown and usually distribute these to patients near me. As it is, Tom Huxley is gone. He was an amiable young man, much beloved by all who knew him. He was wounded much like myself, but was capable of bleeding and died. I knew nothing about it until I saw his corpse on the way to the burial yard with the national flag wrapped around him.
I cannot but feel that those who die are much better off than we who are left behind. As I was reading this morning, my eyes fell upon these lines. Weep not for him that died, for his struggling soul is free, and the world from which he flieth is a world of misery. But weep for him who weepeth on that cold land's cruel shore. Blessed is he that sleepeth. Weep for the dead no more. I think that those lines are beautiful. Don't you? Are you having very hard times now? I do wish this war was ended so that you could all come home. But I must wait patiently and trust that it will come out all right in the end.
We surrendered yesterday. The men were wild with joy. Old comrades embraced each other and with tears exchanged their congratulations. All we endured is now well repaid by this glorious triumph. Yes, we feel that our country is safe, our government strong, and rebellion crushed forever. I never saw such a happy army as ours advanced in April 1st. A little bird perched on a pine top broke out in a loud, clear note of a pretty song. The boys cheered the little bird, saying, "Freedom reigns today, and thank God, slavery is dead." All along the line of our march, the black spent with enthusiastic rejoicings. An old man is framed with bow, labor, age, and sorrow, and tears running down his face. He was overcome with joy at the sight of our army. Another was singing about how Master Lincoln's boys were lost. I might tell you many stories. I will be home in 5 months' time, bringing peace with me. But there would be one last casualty of the war, more heartbreaking than any other. When the telegram came to us announcing the murder of Lincoln, nearly all of us doubted the truth and cherished the hope that it was hoax. The facts were too well known. Grief, sorrow, revenge, and disappointment were exhibited everywhere. A few weeks ago, I could pardon even old Gentleus himself. So pleased were we with victory. All feeling of animosity was gone from us. When the news came to us of the vile murder of our chief, we could not help but give way to thoughts of vengeance on the perpetrators. A terrible blow is this to our army and our navy and our country at large, but it's terrible to us. It's more terrible to our thoughts. We can never give our enemies the leniency they might receive. That September, Fred Lucas returned home to Goshen and to Jenny Watkins, who was waiting for him. But of course, now Fred had to fight a foe in many ways more contentious than any he had faced. Jenny's father. Her parents were displeased at Fred and Jenny's decision to become engaged. But Jenny's father particularly disliked Fred because he was not rich, not a lawyer, not a notable politician, but merely a farm boy without a college education. Marriage was a matter for a girl's family to decide. And Jenny's father insisted that she graduate from teacher's training school. So in the meantime, Fred began running a store in West Goshen, an area known to locals as Canada. His letters to Jenny continued for the 2.5 years it took for Fred to establish himself enough to be accepted by Jenny's father and for Jenny to graduate. Because of the distance involved and the lack of telephones, even cross-town relationships were often conducted in writing. But in July of 1867, Fred finally wrote one of the most important letters of his life. Mr. J. M. Wallace. Dear Sir, full compliance with your wishes, I have waited till this day for the fulfillment of my claim to your daughter's hand. Jane is now old enough. Constancy to each other for 2 years is proof of our love. If either of us ever marry at all, it should be to each other. I am now able to have a wife, having $3,300 in the bank besides my salary, which this year is $900. It is our intention to be married next month. caused me much anxiety. To the effect that she would not allow our union. I hope this is not true. I wish to be gentlemanly and honorable in this matter, as I have been in the past. Will you grant me your consent? As a young man starting life who is sensitive to the future happiness of the woman he loves, I ask you now, after years of waiting and patient submission to your requirements, for full consent to a marriage between your daughter and myself. I am, sir, very respectfully yours, Frederick A.
Mr. Frederick A. Yes, sir. Yours of the 15th is received. And to allay any doubt, I shall put no obstacle in the way of Jane's marriage. And the date that you and she find convenient. She left home today for Hartford with my wife to purchase dress goods, etc. With regards to gossip that troubles you, it is not based on any remarks of mine, but is being spread by Mrs. Polly Brooks. Which I refuse to answer her questions regarding your engagement. Respectfully yours, J.M.
On August 7th, 1867, Fred and Jenny were married.
Well, I hope you didn't go back to those two. Just married. Oh, Lizzie, you don't think that's going to last. Must I spell it out for you? D-A-N. As in Dan. Dempsey? What about him? Well, you know he was making free with that. Jenny, Nancy, Minnie, whatever her name is. Those two were up to no good. No friend with this was far too more brazen they were. It's only a matter of time. Until what? Well, I heard from the referee.
Regardless of what gossip may have been generated by idle townsfolk, Fred and Jenny lived to enjoy a long and happy marriage. Jenny raised their two sons, while Fred lived a life of civic engagement, not unlike his father-in-law. He was chairman of the Board of Education, constable, postmaster. He even served several times on the Connecticut General Assembly. The couple lived into their 60s. Theirs is a truly American story, a small-town romance marked by courage, devotion despite challenges, and love. Their relationship blossomed in the shadow of the Civil War. Missed opportunities, unreliable mail, and the ever-present threat of tragedy were not enough to divide them. In the end, theirs was victory. Above the din of long-ago battlefields, sweeter than the songs of birds, their hearts still echo messages of love. I will write to you, even if I cannot write. I hope to hear from you tomorrow.
Please believe that you are never forgotten.
With many kind wishes and a good night
kiss.